The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Deep from the bowels of the Macabre Theater Laboratory, we bring you Macabre Cast. There is nothing wrong with your streaming service. You are exactly where you should be, where the slush puppy machine is always on and cold. Your favorite horror mag is on the rack, discreetly displayed between Women's Wear Daily and Cosmopolitan. I'm your host, Dark Mark, along with my mold-riddled counterpart, Karis, the Little Mummy, here to bring you the latest episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. This is a safe space for those who remember sitting on top of the monkey bars on any given Saturday afternoon and blasting AC/DC. Newbies welcome, regulars welcome back, and worshippers hit the road. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button and ask a friend to do the same. Even that guy who takes longer choosing the movie to watch than the movie's running time. Yeah, that guy. If you wish to interact with fellow monster kids, join the Facebook page Macabre Theater. It's there where you can send me a voice message and become part of the show. A link can be found in the description of this episode. Macabre Cast episode 132 begins now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Adoro il cast macabre.
So here we are, Karis, episode 132, All Things Psycho 2.
All Things Psycho 2. A fantastic horror sequel, I must say.
Are we going to start this again?
Start what?
Horror?
I can't help it. It's my Medford, Mass accent.
You're from Egypt.
Medford, Mass on my father's side. Ready for a whopper of a joke?
Ready as I can be, I guess.
What does a cow have 4 of, but a woman only has 2 of?
Karis, this seems highly inappropriate.
Legs. A cow has 4, a woman has 2. What did you think I was going to say?
I think it's time for horror news. Value Films is developing an adaptation of Stephen King's short story, Mr. Yummy. Eli Roth's found footage film Dream Eater has released to digital this week. Betty Boop is the latest cartoon to have its copyright run dry, therefore the latest to be turned into a horror film. I've said this before, these Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse gore fests are not my cup of tea. Don't Breathe 3 is in the creative beginning stage. 28 years later, Part 2, The Bone Temple, releases January 16th, 2026. I still have to catch 28 years later. And that's it for horror news. And Draven agrees. Draven, the blood-vomiting bat.
Children of the night, what music they make.
I am deeply concerned about the kids riding those electric bikes around the neighborhood yelling 6-7. No one knows what it means. But it must be stopped. But it must be stopped.
I wasn't causing trouble like that when I was young. I was just putting on the album Sounds to Make You Shiver during the broad daylight. I'd put it on and I would quickly scurry under the bed and stay there for the whole first side. Then I would quickly scurry out and flip the record over and scurry back under. That's how I spent most of my days. the early years. Not doing 6, 7. I really enjoyed Black Phone from 2021. So, like many, I was really stoked to see Black Phone 2. Now, I'm not going to say that it was bad or I didn't like it, but the film has some problems. Black Phone from 2021 was far better. Had this movie just mostly focused on Finn and what his life was like, trying to overcome the horrific things that he survived, I would have been 100% on board. But that's not this movie. I think Metal Melody, and I know that Laura Horror made this comment when we watched it, and they both compared this to A Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, they could not have been more right. We already have a Freddy Krueger in the horror world, and the grabber was his own thing. Until now. Now we have a haphazard imitation of that story. Don't need it, don't want it. Not to mention the resolve that comes about as how to stop the grabber is weak, to say the least. There are some fairly creepy scenes in this. The grabber on skates coming at you, well, super creepy. But let's be honest here, that's not entirely original either. That scene comes straight out of the movie Curtains from 1983. And regardless, no amount of creepiness can elevate this film to the status of its predecessor. Ethan Hawke is great. Mason Thames is great. Madeline McGraw, well, not so much. I'm going to give Black Phone 2 2.5 stars, a half star under good. This story could have been better. Better than what they gave us. And that's too bad. If you want to make the grabber the next franchise killer to stand among the faves, then don't copy the faves. Dark Mark says, enter at your own risk.
Hey, Dark Mark, Little Chorus, and all the Monster Kids hang out at the theater this week. It's Horror Chat Matt checking in. So, Doc, the topic this week is all things Psycho 2, and I agree with you. It is a great sequel. One of my favorite sequels of all time. And as far as the novel goes, I agree. It's also a very fun read. And a quick, fun little story as to how I got my hands on that novelization. So growing up, we had a house in the neighborhood that had a fire and had been abandoned for years. And as teenagers, we finally decided that we were going to go in and check it out, as the people had left all their belongings and never came back. So there wasn't much of anything worthwhile in there. I could see why they left it. But in the corner of the room, there was a huge stack of books. And going through them, I came across the novelization for Halloween 2 and Psycho 2. And I snatched both of those up and devoured them both. The only problem with them is that they stunk so bad of smoke that I ended up having to get rid of them because they just smelled so bad. But you're right. Psycho 2, the novelization, and the movie, both great. Psycho 3, I don't really remember anything about. The remake with Vince Vaughn is one of the worst things I've ever seen. A shot-by-shot, basically, recreation of a classic with the added scene that really added nothing, if you ask me, and was totally unnecessary. And then Psycho 4, I don't really remember much about that one. And Bates Motel, the TV series, I actually really enjoyed that. I thought that was a well-done show. So I definitely recommend tracking that one down. Pretty sure it's on AMC. And the last thing I'll say about Psycho 2 is how much I love Anthony Perkins' performance. You really feel sympathetic towards him, and it's just a fun movie. Definitely worth checking out. Speaking of a couple of movies worth checking out, I took in 2 new flicks this week. The first one was Black Phone 2. And I did enjoy it. I'm going to say that right off the top. I give it about a 7 out of 10. Same thing with the first one. I did enjoy the first one as well. I liked it a lot more upon a second viewing right before I watched part 2, just as a refresher. And I like I like the world. I really enjoyed the short story by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. And the world of horror can always use some new horror icons, and I'm pretty sure The Grabber's well on his way to being one of the new ones, along with Art the Clown. But there is something about this franchise, while I do enjoy it, I just feel like it's missing something, and I can't really put my finger on it. The characters are very likable. The setting and the stories are great. There's just something about it that's missing. I don't know if you feel the same way, or if one of the other Monster Kids has an opinion about it. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And then I watched last night Netflix's Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And maybe it's because my expectations were so low for this thing. I absolutely loved it. It was 2.5 hours. Didn't feel like it was that long. The sets, actors, direction, the cinematography, even the CGI was very well done. And like I said, I wasn't looking forward to it. I'm like, how many times do we have to have this story be retold? But it's been about 35 years since I read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And this seemed pretty faithful to that novel from what I can remember. But I really liked it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Curious to see how you feel. At first, I wasn't a fan of the look of the monster. But as the movie went on, it grew on me. And it was a great performance by whoever that was under the makeup. And like I said, highly recommend it. I'm curious how you and the other Monster Kids like it, if you've seen it. And yeah, that'll wrap it up for this week. As always, make mine Macabrecast.
Hardchat didn't just think those books stunk. He thought they stunk.
I love those kind of stories, Hardchat, like how you found the Psycho 2 and the Halloween 2 books. I just love it. You just keeping it real, and I love it. I can't even speak about the Vince Vaughn remake. I actually saw that in a theater, and I know that was a horrible mention one week, and that was absolutely putrid. That's all I've got for that, putrid. The series Bates Motel that you mentioned was fantastic. Laura Harr and I never missed an episode of that when it first ran, and would love to venture back and see that again. And the twist that they threw in with the shower scene, just phenomenal. That's all I can say about that. I reviewed Black Phone 2, as you have now probably heard on this episode. And Frankenstein, yeah. Even though it was Del Toro and I do nothing but kind of kick him around, it was very good. And I reviewed that back on Macabrecast episode 131. But always look forward to hearing from you, Hardchat Matt, and we hope to hear from you again next week. Bopping around on Netflix with Laura Harr, we stumbled upon No One Gets Out Alive from 2021. This was about an illegal immigrant forced to take a room at a boarding house because she has no documentation. Driver's license, etc. The boarding house is run by two brothers who, to say act strange, would be an understatement. That alone would be enough for me to pack up and head back to Mexico, I'm telling you right now. But that's not what happens here. And if you think the brothers are weird in the first act, when all is revealed as to what they're up to in the third act, it doesn't hold a candle to the first act. There's really some strange stuff going on. This is very suspenseful and creepy, and great acting all around. And when the brothers' secrets get revealed, I must say I never saw that coming. 3 out of 5 stars. Look for it on Netflix. No One Gets Out Alive from 2021.
So, you want to visit a haunted house, I think I have one that should suit you. That is, if you dare follow me. You will? Fine. Shall we go, then? Here we are at the door. Happy haunting.
And that, Monster Kids, was just a little taste of the record album I listened to over and over again at 5 years old while hiding under the bed. Sounds to make you shiver. Best album ever.
What are you doing under the lab table? What goes on in here when I leave the room?
Actually, we were about to hear from Chicago's finest.
Want I should wash the dead bugs off the windshield?
Hey, Dark Mark and Karis, the little mummy, and all you kids out there in Monsterland. I'm so excited. It's almost time for Thanksgiving. It's just around the corner, and you know what that means, Dark. Yes, sirree. Soon we'll find out. That's just a private joke between me and Dark. Anyway, I'm just getting ready to watch a film on Netflix called Wind Chill. That just, it's a 2007 film. I have no idea what it's, I have not heard anything about it. It's about a college student who goes home for the holidays and gets stranded on a haunted road. And I don't know, the trailer looked pretty good, so I'm going to start watching that now. Other than that, I got some other movies lined up for Thanksgiving, like the movie Thanksgiving, which I love to watch just to listen to the bad Boston accents. It's hilarious to me because I don't think I have a Boston accent, but I don't know. That's for you to judge. Also, I am so excited about Stranger Things coming back next week. I cannot wait. That's something I can't wait to see and start talking about. I've been watching all 4 of the seasons in the last 2 weeks. Any chance I get, I've been watching an episode because I'm so excited, for next week. And I can't wait till that's done so we can talk about it. Isn't that awful? Anyway, I also wanted to talk about Guillermo's Frankenstein. I saw it, and I thought it was all right. But I had just recently watched Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein around Halloween, and I like Kenneth Branagh. I love Kenneth Branagh. He's my favorite actor, and his directing is great. And I just thought that was a better movie. Sorry, I agree with Mark. But I don't know. It's kind of maybe because I just saw that movie, and then I saw this movie, and it's kind of more of the same, except for I like how he made Victor more of a villain.
Friend, good. Friend, good.
Than Kenneth Branagh's Victor. Kenneth Branagh's Victor was a sympathetic character. Also, I did not believe that Frankenstein was scary at all. That I was disappointed in. But Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein, which we know is Robert De Niro, was pretty gross. I like that one better. So anyway, I don't know. I hope you guys are all going to have a great Thanksgiving. So I'll see you on the other side of that. And I have to get a list of Christmas movies to start. These Christmas horror films. Bring them on. Give me some ideas of what to watch. And any science fiction mind benders I'd like, if anybody's got any recommendations. But I can't wait to hear what you guys think about Stranger Things, and I'll be back in a few weeks. But have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
A Boston accent? No. You Chicago people overpronounce your R's. So no. You sound like you're one of the cast of the Blues Brothers, quite frankly. And as far as like evil Dr. Victor Frankenstein's, Peter Cushing, and all those Frankenstein films, as they went on, he got like more and more evil. He's even raping one of the chambermaids at one point when it gets to the end. And hence one of the names of the film, The Evil of Frankenstein. Well, who do you think they're talking about? They're not talking about the monster. And as far as Kenneth Branagh's Dr. Frankenstein, he just realized what he had done, how sinful what he had done was. And he was full of remorse. But a great Dr. Frankenstein, and great film. As I already mentioned, I love that film. Stranger Things had better knock it out of the park, is all I'm saying, because we've waited far too long, and they've really beaten that horse to death leading up to this. So they need to knock it out of the park. And hey, Christmas horror, my go-to, Silent Night, Deadly Night, but the remake is coming out this year. And so before I say goodbye, Chicago Tina, I'd like to share a memory with the Monster Kids. So I'm out visiting in Chicago when I was about 7 or 8, or maybe 7.5. And Tina and her brother, for all sake and purposes here, we'll just call Miguel, took me to the store down the street where my monster eye spied this book, The World's Greatest Monster Quiz. Now, time froze for the next few minutes, as looking back at me was the Wolfman. As you all know, was one of my favorites. I pointed as I ogled this book, and I could barely speak other than to murmur that I really wanted that. Well, soon enough, we left the store, and I was heartbroken that that book remained behind me. And halfway down the block, Chicago Tina revealed from behind her back the book and handed it to me. Again, time stopped. I had the book. It was mine.
Do you think they stole it? Do you think they stole that book?
It didn't matter, Karis, and I didn't care. And I still have that book. It's loaded with monster movie quiz questions, trivia, and I believe some crosswords. I still have it. It's in a box of other books in my spooky attic. Later, when we get back to the apartment, Tina and Miguel, they asked me if I wanted to play hide and seek. I was to cover my eyes and count to 20, and Chicago Tina and Miguel and their friends took off running. That was their opportunity to run outside and leave me behind. But needless to say, even after I finished counting and found no one, I had the book. Always great to hear from you, Chicago Tina, and we hope to hear from you again next week.
I'm getting ready.
In 1983, a sequel was made that at the time I didn't think Hollywood had the gumption to make. Psycho 2. And bringing back Vera Miles as Lila Crane, Marion Crane's sister, and of course Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, I'm calling this as probably the first legacy sequel created. Psycho was released in 1960 and it's still hailed as the first slasher film and the best, although a good amount of monster kids out there would say no, the first slasher film was Peeping Tom, also released in 1960. Well, I've seen Peeping Tom, and no, I'm sorry, it's Psycho. That's what it is in my book anyway. Psycho 2 picks up 22 years after the wrap-up of the original. Norman Bates is being released from the mental institution that he resided in when his psychiatrist, Dr. Raymond, played wonderfully by Frank Leggia, deems him of sound mind. Lila Crane, played by Vera Miles, the sister of Marion, the woman Norman killed in the infamous shower scene, is outraged and shows up to protest. Her name now is Lila Loomis, as she evidently, I guess, married her dead sister's then boyfriend. But please, let's not go down that rabbit hole. This movie does a fantastic job at making its audience feel bad and sympathetic for this killer of women from the first go-round. It craftily villainizes the people who only want justice for their victims. Well, actually, these characters do a pretty good job of villainizing themselves all on their own. But the lingering question as to whether Norman Bates has been rehabilitated or not is what haunts us throughout. Plus, when all is said and done, we get a heck of a twist ending that if by now you haven't seen or heard of, don't. See it for yourself. There is a great cast here other than the ones I've already mentioned. Dennis Franz, Meg Tilly, and Hugh Gillen, just to name a few. Critics said that this film was too smart for its own good, and I still have yet to understand what that meant. But it doesn't really sound good. Look for the reflection of a young Norman Bates on a doorknob in a flashback scene. That's Perkins' son, Osgood Perkins, the now big-time director. The part of Lila Loomis' daughter, played by Meg Tilly, was first offered to Jamie Lee Curtis because she was the real-life daughter to Janet Leigh. But at the time of the filming, Jamie Lee Curtis did not want to return to horror. The original showerhead from Psycho in 1960 was supposed to be used in the sequel, but it had been stolen right at the time of production. So some thief right now has it on a shelf in his house, I suspect. There was a used bookstore a few blocks from where I lived, and that's where I obtained a copy of Robert Bloch's book, Psycho 2. It's great, but after you read it, you see how difficult it would be to bring this version to the screen. And Bloch's take on Hollywood's horror industry wasn't looked at very favorably by Universal Studios. The film did well with its audiences, and when Psycho 3 was proposed to Anthony Perkins, he agreed only if he could direct. Part 3 is worth a watch, if only to tie up the loose ends, but probably the weakest of the 1 through 4 series. I do, however, highly recommend Part 4. A great double feature would be to watch the original Psycho and then Part 4, as it almost plays like a standalone. The film was conceived by the idea that what if there were a radio talk show whose subject matter that night was about matricide? What if one of the guests was the psychiatrist who studied Norman Bates in the first film? You remember, the guy that explains to the characters in that 1960s audience who couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Anyway, him as a guest on this talk show where they're talking matricide, and who should call in? You guessed it, Norman Bates. 4 is a great entry. If you missed it for some reason, it's worth a watch. It also stars Olivia Hussey as a young Norma Bates and Henry Thomas as a young Norman for flashback scenes. Psycho 2 remains one of my personal favorite horror sequels, and every once in a while, I like to revisit it.
Don't miss a night of tribute to 2 departed rock legends. Blizzard of Oz, the ultimate exaltation of Ozzy Osbourne and Randy Rhoads in an unforgettable time gone by. Don't wait, as tickets are selling fast. Blizzard of Oz, live at the Blue Ocean Music Hall in Salisbury, Mass. Saturday, January 10th, 2026.
Special guest, the Lords of Salem.
Is this something you can share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here, and I'm back checking in. Hey, Karis. I've been sitting here watching the rain all day, and I was wondering, why don't ghosts like the rain? Well, it dampens their spirits. So let's talk Psycho 2. Saw this when I believe it was on Starcase before cable, and reflecting back, it was rather decent at a gaslighting story. Though trying to prove a psychopath is a danger by making them think they're going insane might not be the best remedy. Now, at 13, I really did not appreciate the final scene plot twist, but I do now, thinking back. It would be way many years later before I even watched Psycho 3, but that's another story. Now, I caught Haxon, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but from 1922 on HBO Max, and I got a kick out of it. It was interesting storytelling. It was a little hard to follow because originally the silent movie was silent, but the subtitles were French. So it was French subtitles and then English subtitles under that. So it was a little hard you had to really pay attention. But you could see from the plot storyline without any verbiage where it was going. Then reflecting on it, the director was comparing the hunt for witches back in the day and then showing examples of modern day witch hunts. Then to realize that came out over 100 years ago is equally interesting. If you can find that, if you don't have HBO, I'm sure it might be on some other format or you can even rent it. It's a piece of cinematic history because it is considered one of the first, air quote, horror movies ever put to film. Well, that's it for this week.
I was somewhat under the impression that Scary Larry was all done with jokes. I don't even think he told one the last couple of times we heard from him. So I guess we truly have Scary Larry back.
I'm a big fan of Haxon. Scary. I bought this on DVD years ago before ever even seeing it, just based on pictures I had seen from the film alone. And as far as the plot, I could care less. This was a background companion piece for me, as I would put on Black Sabbath records while this film was on, or watch it that way. This one in Vampire, I did the same thing with. And I'm glad that you're getting settled into your new place, Scary, and glad that you'll be back to seeing it so we monster kids don't have to.
But everything is gonna work out fine. If it don't, I think I'll lose my
mind. Don't touch that dial, monster kids.
Yeah, you don't know where it's been.
Pipe down. It's almost time for the final thought.
Not quite, bro. Not before. Cobwebbed classics.
Ooh, yeah. Cobwebbed classics.
Welcome to Cobwebbed Classics, where I dust off a lost, forgotten, or just plain unappreciated film and introduce it to, or maybe just remind you about it, so your spooky Saturday night might run a little creepier. This week's Cobwebbed Classic is 1943's The Mad Ghoul, directed by James P. Hogan, starring David Bruce, George Zucco, and Evelyn the Wolfman anchors. Know when George Zucco is a chemistry professor at a college, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a mad scientist. Here it's about 30 seconds before he's experimenting with an ancient Mayan gas on a medical student. The would-be surgeon becomes a murdering ghoul, hence the Mad Ghoul. This Universal monster flick is nothing more than a fun romp. It's nowhere in the ball field of the Wolfman or the Creature. It's just a fun time. Scenes alone make this a nice light note to start off your Halloween movie marathon with, while you get your popcorn just right. Even though Evelyn Wolfman Anchors is something of a singer herself, or so she says, her singing was dubbed with an old recording of Lillian Cornell, P. Hogan's last film. He finished it in May of 1943 and died 8 days before the release on November 12, 1943. This was the only Universal horror film to ever touch the subject of zombies. Gem are as follows.
A new sensation in horror.
3's The Mad Ghoul was this week's
Cobwebbed Classics.
The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, Doc, Mark, Little Karis, and all the Macabre cast fans listening. It's me, Metal Melody. I hope everybody is well. I haven't seen any new movies at the movie theater lately because there hasn't been any really worth watching. Hopefully something will be coming out soon. I know there are a couple horror movies coming out soon, but I have seen some on TV on my Fire Stick, whether it's my internet app or Prime or Netflix. One was Jester 2. If anybody's seen the original Jester and liked it, you're probably going to like 2. If you've ever seen Jester, you really don't have to see it to see part 2. That's the good thing about it. But it's about a teenage girl named Max. She bumps into the Jester on Halloween night, and she's got to outsmart him in his tricks while many people are being murdered by the Jester. He has a certain sacrificial number of people that need to be killed, and, it has to do with like where his soul goes, blah, 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 one of those. But it was pretty good. It's kind of, I don't know how I would classify it. It's not really comedy horror. It's kind of, I don't know, like, I don't know. Would you call it, anybody that's seen it, like a teenage horror?
More like mummy horror.
I'm not sure, but nevertheless, I enjoyed it. I saw another movie called From Darkness. That was not a bad watch. I saw another movie called Other. That was about a woman that returns to her childhood home after her mom's death and finds out it's rigged with all kinds of surveillance cameras and tracking like all her moves, and you're kind of wondering what it is. You're not sure what's going on. It's kind of like a little surprising, toward the middle when you realize what's happening. But that wasn't a bad watch either. I wouldn't call them great movies, but they definitely, I don't feel were wasting my time. Welcome to Derry. I didn't care too much for the first 2 episodes. I thought they were kind of, I don't know, wacky. I don't know. But when I got to episode 3, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. And the same with episode 4 got even better. And by the way, I love the ending of episode 4. It was very eerie. And I liked it. I'm really, really enjoying the series of Welcome to Derry. And last but not least, I don't think this could be a Cobweb classic. It's from 2015. I know they're much older movies, but it's from 2015. And I saw it the other night, and it's called Howl. It's an awesome werewolf movie. I think all these people like going to London, they're on a train, a deer, they get hit by a deer, or they stop because a deer, is in their wheels. They get stuck there, and it's very suspenseful. I think it was a good type of thriller, horror. And they're like, not werewolves like, dogs on the ground, like, we're used to seeing in the movies. They're like, I'm gonna say man werewolves, but hello, that's what the other ones are. But these are like stand-up werewolves. To me, they're more like monsters, but I guess they're werewolves. And they start terrorizing the train and the people on the train. If you haven't seen this, you have to watch it. It was really good. Like I said, I saw it the other night, and I was like, wow, I forget what a really good movie this was. So yeah, if you didn't ever see it, check it out. Horror Chat Matt, I also watched Bone Lake, even though I saw it had awful reviews. And it's one of those movies that are bad or kind of shit. But you have to watch to see how the ending comes out. So I ended up watching the whole thing, and I was like, okay, I see why people gave it bad reviews. It was kind of dumb, but I still watched the whole thing. Too funny. But yeah, it was another one of those lame-os movies that we watch and we say, why the frig did I watch that whole movie? Mark, I enjoyed your last episode. I always enjoy your final thoughts too. And I can't wait for the next episode to drop on Monday. But I hope everybody has an awesome Thanksgiving. Enjoy, eat, drink, be merry, and all that shit. So take care. Talk to you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna write a horror movie, and I'm gonna call it Foghorn.
I myself am watching Welcome to Derry. Now, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I'm glad you haven't spoiled anything. But I'm going to tell you right now, I never thought any of the It movies, not the original TV one or the new ones, were very scary. I liked them. I like Pennywise. I just never found them scary. I'll tell you right now, I think Welcome to Derry is really creepy and really scary. First time with the It. I really think it's a great series so far. I like everything about it. Howl I've seen a while back, and if I remember correctly, I liked it a lot until the halfway point. And then something about the halfway point, I just don't remember, I kind of fell away from it. Didn't care for it so much.
Yeah, the swear jar queen said stand-up werewolves. So what were they like, Goodfellas? They were stand-up guys?
No, Karis. She meant that they stand on just 2 legs. They stand up on their regular, hind legs. Anyway, as always, thank you so much, Metal Melody, and we hope to hear from you again next week.
Goditi questo episodio de Cast Macabro.
Thank you, Maria Monstalia, for telling our Italian friends to enjoy this episode of Macabre Cast. If you are a regular here in the lab, then you know Macabrecast episodes first drop on the Monday of each week. The Monster Kids listen when they can, so not knowing who will be listening when, I wholeheartedly hope you have, or are having, or had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you had the chance to spend it with loved ones, someone close to you, or maybe even forgave someone and welcomed them back into your life. All we can do in this brief time on the planet is to just try to do the best we can do. If we are lucky, we'll be blessed with another day. And if we are, make the best of it, just in case it is the last. Happy Thanksgiving, Monster Kids. Beware the moon. Keep clear of the moors. But most of all, remember, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon, I hope.
This is a Macabre Theater production. Subscribe us.